Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this logo, and I think it's just supposed to be this part. He said the font was one kind, but I don't have it. He's already got a vector font, but it needs to look like this with these lines. And he's done a pretty good job, but he's got some problems. So I'm just going to go with this one. So before I even start, and I don't understand the weld part, I'm going to bring in some indexing lines and put them about where they're going to meet. Okay. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to left click, right click. And you kind of see the problem. Well, one, the C is not perfect, but I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to take a 2-point line. He did a good job on the first one. I'm going to take a 2-point line. I'm not going to go from there. I'm going to go from there to there. I'm going to go to the C part and then I can take my virtual segment delete key and I can delete this line. I can actually delete that line. I'm just trying to get the C perfect. So I'm going to go to, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. I'm going to make sure it's a hairline. Hairline is going to be a little bit easier to manipulate. You can see stuff you can't see otherwise. I'm going to take the 2-point line again, and I'm going to go not from here, but from the top of the C to the bottom of the C. And see, he draws, or maybe it's his file. I'm going to change my graphic to draw in 1/2 inch or hairline and RGB and in red. So then when I draw that line, it'll be a red line and a hairline. So I'm going to take the 2-point line from there to there, and then I can delete these lines. Now, what I could do, and maybe make life a little bit easier, take the Smart Fill tool and fill it in. Well, first of all, I'm going to specify no outline. I'm going to specify, doesn't really matter what color, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll go with RGB. And I want, I'm going to go with green. So now I can fill that C in with green. I can make it do, and what that also did, it gave me a good solid start. I'm going to go ahead and take away the fill in the outline, and I'm going to take that C and put it right on top of that other one. And then I'm going to nudge it out of the way. Well, what I can do first is go ahead and delete these lines. And then I can nudge that out of the way and see there's that C. So I'm going to break this apart, break the curve apart. You get that C. And then when I nudge it straight back, it ought to be right on top. Or right what it should be. I'm going to move that out of the way. See, there's the original with the red line. I'm going to left click, right click, and nudge it back. Now we just need to work on the I. And I've still got my indexing lines. The I can delete these lines because they're just some extra lines. Now, what I'm going to do, a little bit of a line right there. I'm going to see, I marked that spot. I can delete all those. I'm going to take a 2-point line, and I'm going to go from that. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go from that node right there to our imaginary spot. I'm going to make sure I have snap to guidelines on, and I don't. So I'm going to redraw that so it'll snap to that intersection, because this needs to be pretty precise. See, it snapped right to the intersection. Then take that line and snap it to that intersection. Take that line right on that node, snap it to that intersection. Take that node, snap it right to that intersection. Now, when we make those lines thicker, that edge point is going to kind of disappear. Sometimes it's a lot easier to redraw something than to try to trace it. Whoop. I didn't do a very good job on that one. Just a couple more lines. And I don't, if he doesn't, he told me the font, but I can't get that font to match. I actually did have the font. Okay. Now he's going to screen print this, and he needs it all to be the same color. He needs to separate the color. So I'm thinking he's going to have to figure out that font and just write that. But you can see how jagged and pixelated it is. Now I'm going to get rid of this weld part. And that is a good way to send me stuff and draw an arrow what you want done. And I am going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to nudge this C out of the way for a second. And I am going to grab all these lines and I'm going to turn them into a 2-point line and make them black by right clicking. Now I can actually move these right back and I can actually fill them in with black. I would take away the outline. Now we got a little bit of a separation there. So maybe I need to bring that outline back. No, it's not perfect. So what we can do, if you remember, we made these lines 2 points. Let's make this C 2 points. That's going to help us line up those, hopefully, line up those edges. Because the outline is just, going to be a black. And then you can actually take the Smart Fill tool, probably the easiest, set on black, or whatever color you need. And now if we look, those lines are in there. Now, see, he's working with CMYK, and that might be the case because I can tell the difference between the two colors. Let's tell you what we can do, just make it all one color. We can go to the color attribute, take a picture of that, and fill it in. See, the CMYK black is not as black as an RGB black, but since he's a printer, maybe that's what he needs. Now, if we take away our indexing lines, that's pretty good. Now, from here, he needs to, then what I would do, sorry if I'm jumping around, I would take all this and group it together. Because that way, all your black is one color. And then he just needs to find, he told me that font was, I can't even remember what he's told me, but let's just, I just had a little power failure. Thankfully, I'm doing this on a laptop and it didn't affect it. And then you got a period. But see, that's not that font. But what we can do, he said the font was like Future MDBT, but that's not that font. So he needs to find that font. And then what he could do, he could, and I think he's going to have to, don't know anything about screen printing, but the outside is black. So what I'm thinking, I'm going to just kind of, and my graphic is a lot bigger than the other one. Let's say that's what it looks like. Let's try this. Let's left click, right click. And then let's make that, let's tell you what, let's go ahead and go to object and turn it into a curve. And then we could change the thickness of the line to a 0.5 point, 1 point. And then I would nudge it out of the way. Didn't mean to nudge it that far. And then the other part is red. So all this is one group. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Smart Fill tool, because I do not think we could take this and just turn it red. Yep, it worked. A lot of times it won't work after you turn it to a curve. But then he can nudge all that down. So when he's printing this, and I have no clue in printing, but we could, well, you know what we need to do? We did need to Smart Fill that, because that way he's going to be able to separate the colors. Tell you what, I'm going to see what my nudge factor is. I'm going to cut it in half. I can still get there. I'm going to use a red, and I'm going to fill this in and nudge it down. Nudge it down, nudge it down, nudge it down, nudge it down. And once he got the correct font, I think this will look pretty good. You know, a lot of customers, you know, some of them don't care if it's the exact font as long as it's close, but some are really particular. So what I've done now, I've made this one item by going and grouping it together. But then when I move it down, whoop, and see, I had 8 before, so I'm going 4. And there it is. And then that way he could maybe print all the black, and then he comes back and prints the red. I do not know how screen printing works, and on a line like that, I really don't know how it would work. Maybe they'd have to print all black, solid black, and then print red on top of it. I do not know. But that's pretty close. It's just a different font. Anyway, I hope that helped him a little bit. Thank you for watching.